I feel like 99.5% of aftermarket wheels on old 911s are bad.
Yes.
I feel like we really are the tastemakers of this type of thing. Like
Yeah.
I say this like not even in jest. Like, oh, like I could go through and tell you what's wrong with all this stuff, and I don't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how am I more qualified than any other person? I don't know. I just am.
New for 96. With your hosts, Kevin McCauley and Chris Nguyen.
I was listening to the radio this morning, and there is a new movie with Steve Martin and Selena Gomez and another actor. I forget who it was, but it's about podcast listeners making a podcast about a murder mystery. And Steve Martin.
Oh, it's like on HBO or something.
I don't know actually what it was
There is
on.
a Steve Martin thing on HBO, and it uses the Frasier title Frasier font.
Oh, really?
Like the logo Frasier font.
Okay.
As
Wow.
the titles.
Like ironically, or just like they happened to do it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's got to be intentional.
Well, Steve Martin was asked what does he hate most about podcasts, and he said that he can't stand it when people banter at the beginning of episodes.
Really?
Yeah, and he specifically, it is almost as if he listened to our podcast,
Yeah.
because he said, I really hate it when they say, "Hey Kevin, how are you doing?"
You know, now that you mention it, I did see the meter spike up to 8
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
So I bet he was that one.
I think yeah, I think that was him. He just flipped right past that. So
That's not like an 8 like Nielsen rating. That's like a number 8.
yeah, number eighth listener. We have a big like LED billboard behind us. Like it's really cobweb. All the other numbers are really cobwebby.
If we had 10, a banner drops down. So
Yeah.
tell your friends.
and one
Preferably 2 of them.
and one deflated balloon. So apologies, Steve Martin, but I've already asked Kevin how he's doing.
hmm
Will you ask me how I'm doing, just to kind of close the annoying loop for him?
I wasn't planning to.
Wow. Okay. Well, then he's happy.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Fine.
Yeah. We just traveled to Indianapolis. Indianapolis. I said that really fast, and all the consonants blurred together. Indianapolis,
Yeah.
Indiana, for Luft 7.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is the 4th one we've gone to.
Yeah. I think it's the 4th one we've gone to. You went to the first one?
No, I went to the 3rd one.
Okay.
So we went to 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
I went to 3
Okay.
solo.
Okay. Oh, you went to 3 solo?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
What do you mean?
TFTI.
I saw Ben Grimes there. He came.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Every time we're in LA, we always try to get together whenever we
Mhm.
go to Luft, and then it does not
I
end
think
up working
that might
out.
have been the last time I saw him.
Oh, wow, that was a long time ago.
I know.
Yeah. We always mean to get a drink, but
Mhm.
there's never enough time. Anyways, so this was they canceled last year's show, and it was supposed to be in Durham, North Carolina, and it was supposed to be a multi-day event. So they're mixing things up.
Right. I think that just means there's a normal show and then there's like an open house. I think there would have been more official like
Yeah.
pre and post party get together things.
Yeah.
Is what I think that means.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's moot because that didn't happen.
Yeah.
This year it was scheduled for Indianapolis. It was at this Bottleworks Hotel, Bottleworks District,
Yeah.
which evidently the hotel opened like recently.
Oh, okay. So it's a new hotel.
Yeah, it's new. It's coincidentally where I stayed in July for the Ferrari thing.
Yeah. We did not stay there though.
Right, we did not stay there this time.
We booked a little too late, so we had to
Little too
stay
late.
downtown.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was nice that it was all that we walked. Like it was nice not having to like drive
Yeah.
to suburbs or far away or whatever. Like we
Yeah, that is
stayed
true.
relatively close, could walk like,
Yeah, to be fair, like where the other Lufts were, not always, but they were kind of far out locations in Los Angeles. So you would have to
Right.
stay at like a Motel 6 by the lumber yard or something
right.
if you wanted to stay nearby. So yeah, this was nice. It was Indianapolis is not a huge city, I guess, but we were just in like, I assume the most interesting part of the city, being downtown and just kind of outskirt neighborhoods.
Right.
Yeah. So and it was surprisingly walkable.
Yeah,
Which-
it really was. There was like that whatever they had their fancy name, their own branded name for their fancy sidewalk. But they had a cool sidewalk that was like for walking and biking, and
Yeah.
it's like central walking artery through the city.
We are not used to that in Houston.
No, that's frowned upon.
Yeah, that's why like we had to stop and like make note of how we were not nearly mowed down by traffic or nearly tripping over like sidewalks that have like are basically now collided tectonic plates.
Or we weren't sent on lengthy detour because of like construction to
Yeah.
buildings that just makes the sidewalk just stop. Although I guess that happened once.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I would say like the vibe was a little bit different, not necessarily in a bad way. It was, I think, one because it did feel like it was not in LA, and also the way that the cars were arranged, a little bit more spread out. And
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I liked.
yeah,
Um, yeah, they had. I mean, it wasn't just this hotel area. There was like a lot of brick streets and little alleys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they had cars tucked about. It was spread out. It wasn't as dense with cars, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Compared to previous ones, this seemed. I don't know about more deliberate, but definitely. I don't know. It seemed like the cars were positioned more intentionally than just like here's like a row of cars down
Yeah.
this strip. I felt like the Universal one, it was like kind of like here's just a row of cars.
yeah,
Or here's cars like back to back to back to back.
yeah.
just
I guess it was
because.
less thematic, which for the Universal one, like the environment, I think, made up for that because it was such an interesting like setting
Yeah.
to have that. So not only were the cars there as spectacle, but so was like the background.
Right.
And there were a lot of Coke themed cars because we should mention, I guess, Bottle Works, meaning like it was the Coca-Cola bottling
Yeah.
facility or former bottling facility. And so there were like a lot of Coke brand. There were a lot of obviously Guards Red cars lined at the entrance as you walked in.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And
I didn't
then-
even make that connection.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was a whole row of red cars.
I mean, I knew they're all red, but I didn't make the Coca-Cola connection.
I assumed as much. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Maybe, but yeah, it was interesting. The weather was good.
The weather was amazing.
Yeah.
Maybe it was hot for maybe like an hour of the day, and the rest of it was just like
Yeah.
room temperature, 72 degrees.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think it's always interesting. It's always interesting going through the main show where they have like the special cars, the race cars, and then there's the
I mean, museum cars.
Museum
like, to be
cars.
honest.
Yeah, exactly. Cars that you would otherwise only see, literally just only ever see in like the pages of books.
Right.
So, the I don't know what you call it, like the general lot.
Yeah, I mean, there was kind of like there were just regular people's cars in the show, but there was definitely like
Yeah.
a lot that was just like, this is the general show parking for like non-curated, just,
Yeah.
and it was really fun to walk through that.
Yeah.
What was I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, I mean that's just it. That's always interesting because there are cars that we typically always see, not the same cars, but rather like there are always cars that you will see, like 2.7 RSs,
Yeah.
or just RS 964 RSs,
Right.
etc. Like, and those are rare cars in their own right.
Right. But I
there's
mean, once
usually
you've seen like a Ruby Stone
Yeah.
964 RS, you've seen like I don't know. I don't need to
yeah.
marvel over it every time.
Oh, exactly. It is funny. Like that is the weird kind of jaded part. And the thing is, I mean, I enjoy seeing it there. And there were two yellow 2.7 RSs in different places.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the first time I ever saw each one of those cars, I freaked out. And then as I progressively saw them again at each show, or like, I'm sure it's not the same car. Well, maybe in
Right.
Los Angeles, I don't know. But it's a little bit less of a spectacle. So I'll like take a look at it. I'll stop and take a picture or something like that, and then I'll just kind of move on. But yeah, no, the best part, or the most interesting part usually to me is the general lot.
Yeah, just seeing the choices people make, the little upgrades and touches, and just
Yeah.
or it'll be like a rare car that you kind of don't notice
Yeah.
unless you look closely. And I think that's what we enjoyed the most first,
Yeah.
looking through
I
there.
almost think that's where you're like surprised the most, not by like the spectacle of something like rare necessarily, but just how someone has like put together their own car.
Yeah, it's relatable, and you can also judge their choices.
Yes, exactly. That's the other fun part.
That is.
That was the other half of the commentaries. We're walking through
Yes.
that area. But I think before I bought my Carrera, whichever Luft that was that we had gone to just earlier that year, it really was just like seeing the different cars and then seeing what I might have been drawn to as far as like uh, just different configurations, options, whatever. So it was just kind of neat seeing that, and also seeing your car, but in different variations of, because you saw a lot of SCs
Yeah.
there in kind of cool configurations, and I saw a lot of Carreras. I think my pick from that whole area, we did play like a little game while we were there, just like what would you walk away with?
What would you walk away with? But you can't change a thing.
Not a
and,
thing.
And we loved a 993 turbo that was speed yellow, which
Yeah.
is like I mean that's like that will be a poster car for me forever.
so good,
But
yeah.
but it had like a very bad novelty
Stuttgart.
fake Euro plate on the front,
Yeah.
and it was kind of a deal breaker.
And part of the game is you cannot change that.
Can't
You have
change a
to
thing.
live with that.
You gotta live
So
with it.
That is a deal breaker because it's the Euro one, so it's like 3/4 of the front bumper. And I think I marveled a little bit at some of the 964s. Like you don't like the 964 or the RS America, but I kind of do. And there were one or two. I think there was one there.
Yeah,
a
there was
gray
like
one.
a polar silver one.
Oh, I keep calling it gray, but it was polar silver.
Yeah.
Silver, wouldn't it?
And it was next to a turbo 3.6.
Yeah, which looked good, except that I still think that the speed lines are some of the uglier wheels ever produced or used on a Porsche. But
Yeah.
I think so wait, what did you end up with?
We'll get to that. You go first. I don't think I have like a concrete choice of what is my favorite, but there was like a couple things that stood out to me.
Okay. Oops. Wow. Yeah. I don't know how to navigate this microphone. I think my pick was the 964 Carrera 4 lightweight. Just because like it had been on my mind recently.
Yeah, you just got the die
Because
cast.
I had just gotten the die cast.
Yeah.
And like I knew of the model's existence before, just very cursorily. And it wasn't until like I saw that the model was available that I went like a deep dive into the history of the car. And it is really cool because it was basically an abandoned model from a race. I'm sorry, it was a model that was part of an abandoned race series because there weren't enough people who they're meant to be sold to the public, and basically sponsors had like they couldn't gather enough sponsors. I forget what it was exactly, but so what ended up happening was there was going to be no race series involving these cars, so people started backing out of their orders for these cars, and so Porsche had like a really hard time selling them, and all of a sudden, like decades later, they became like some of the rarer cars that you could.
Because they made like 22.
Yeah.
'Cause it was like an RS Club Sport, but it was 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And had D90 wheels.
Yes.
Which are like the most normy ones.
They're so normal,
Did
but
you
they
see
look so good on
there
that.
was also a 964 Carrera Cup.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. That was only like a few cars down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was on the other side.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was white.
Oh,
it was
you're
like
right.
opposite.
You're right. It was near the 993.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that. I was really surprised that the Carrera 4 lightweight, they like shaved like 900 pounds or something
Wow.
like that
Yeah.
from the normal production car. But
It's amazing.
yeah, so that's my pick. And also, okay, this is really nerdy, but on the model, like when it had arrived here, like we were like carefully examining all the details, which
Yeah.
by the way, they got all right. Like it was really cool because there's the fire extinguisher, all the little like knobs.
The shut off. Yeah, the shut off like lever.
Yeah, on the front fender, and then the mysterious like
Oil flap.
oil flap,
Yeah.
which we couldn't figure out what it was, and so
Right.
when we were looking at the real car, I was looking for like a tube or something that went somewhere, but
Because it's hidden in the bodywork still.
our friend Jordan at Modern Air Cooled clarified that for us.
After fucking with us.
After fucking with us, what did he say it was?
He said it was a like a
De-icer?
wiper fluid de-icer solution
Yeah.
from when they did weather testing in Finland, and
Yeah.
it was so specific that I was like, I don't think he's having a wank, and it turns
Yeah.
out he was.
He was having a wank.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both grabbed our chins and said, yes, of course, when he said
I
it.
knew this.
Yeah, and then we talked to the owner, who then laughed at us. So, yeah. Okay, so your pick?
I don't know if it's my pick, but I mean I liked that 993. There was that white Carrera that with the blue cloth seats, and it was like it
Ooh.
was Euro, and it was
Yeah.
like sitting very nicely.
Oh, the one with the shaved emblem. So to say shaved
I
elbow.
can't remember. I think that was the SC that had the shaved emblem.
Okay.
The white SC, what I really liked.
Yeah.
That was at the end. I think it did have a shaved emblem, but it was like every other choice was really good, and it
Yeah.
had the pinstripe seats. So it's like as the ultimate car. No, it's not the ultimate car in that lot, and there was like a singer there.
It was basically.
But it was just cool that it was an SC that was like, oh, every choice was really, really nice.
It was basically every choice that you had made at some point with your car.
I said this was like me if I had stopped, but it had the better seats because it had the pinstripe seats
Yes.
that were cloth, and yeah, it was just cool to
Yeah,
see
it
that.
confused us a little bit because it didn't have Euro markers. I'm pretty sure it was a Euro car.
I don't know if it was a Euro car. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, the SC started in '78, so it's possible that the Euro markers didn't come about until like '80
Maybe.
or '79.
Maybe so, but he had shaved the emblem, which I
Was
think has
weird.
like pinholes.
That was
It was really
strange.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
that
weird
was little
decision.
It was a little weird.
Yeah, but because then I almost expected when you went to the back, he would have no SC
Right.
badge, but that was there. So,
Yes.
and that one on your car, that also has like screw holes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, or bolt holes, which on my car is just glued on.
Mm-hmm.
So, he would have had to well, I guess the front emblem also has like this bolt hole, so you have to do some work to make that happen.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe it was like a composite hood or an aftermarket hood or
Oh, yeah,
something.
maybe.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Delightfully, we did not see a lot of aftermarket headlights, I don't think. There were a
Oh,
few.
there was a lot.
Okay, maybe I just didn't notice because some of them were fluted
Yeah,
projectors.
some of them are fluted. It's okay.
So I didn't look close enough, maybe. But
yeah.
I thought like maybe like 5% of the cars had aftermarket headlights, which it's 100% a terrible choice.
Yeah, it might have been 5%. Maybe it just seemed like a lot because it's so glaring when I
Yes.
see it.
Yeah.
I feel like 99.5% of aftermarket wheels on old 911s are bad.
Yes.
I feel like we really are the tastemakers of this type of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I say this like not even in jest. Like, oh, like I could go through and tell you what's wrong with all this stuff. And I
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
I don't know how am I more qualified than any
It's
other
just-
person? I don't know. I just am.
Yeah, well, it's just like some of this stuff is just so incongruous.
Yeah.
Like, we were talking about the stripe decals on the side of old cars and how there is basically a limit.
Careful, this is hitting close to
Oh
home.
my God. I'm talking about the, not Porsche script, but the,
Oh,
the s-
right. When you
the-
have like the lower bars, like it says
Yeah.
Porsche on the door, and you've got like a fat stripe and then
Yeah.
a skinny stripe above and below, horizontal on the side of a car.
Yeah.
And when it's on a G model, which already has like a rubber strip for that,
it's just extra underlined.
yeah, it's a lot of lines. there.
I think it only looks good on a long hood or like yeah, like you said, like if it's shaved, if the
if you had like an IROC type car where it's like
yeah.
you don't have that, and maybe you probably don't have accordions and stuff.
Yeah. Then I think that detail makes sense.
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. I think there's just some stuff that's just like really incongruous with the car. Like there was some that had like all of the catalog options like ticked off.
In 2021, there's like nothing that can pull off like a Pegasus, like a mobile Pegasus, like
yeah.
unless it's like a ratty 356 that is silver.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 'Cause
I just don't think it's a good thing. Like I think it's like, oh, it's like, look, I'm
Part-
picking from the outlaw catalog,
yeah.
sir.
Yes. See, I am part of the club too.
Yeah.
You see.
So, you had asked me before, like, what would, and I'm taking this question and turning it on
Yeah.
you. Before we recorded, you said, like, what would be something you would not, that you don't want to see?
Yeah. Oh, no, I said what, and we kind of addressed it a little bit, but and we can maybe talk. I don't know if there's anything I don't want to see. Even sometimes the bad cars that are there, it's fine. Like it's kind of seeing.
Oh, you mean the Gunther?
Oh yeah, there was that there. And we did like I strolled upon it, and I was like, there. What? Oh, it's the Gunther. There was just something so.
Yeah.
Speaking of incongruous
Yes.
assemblage of parts, uh, they had a few of those there. I think I was looking at the Targa one, and I was just trying to get you to come over because I needed to dissect this car. There were just so many
Oh yeah.
elements. Like they've just added so many things to the car to make it what it is, I guess. But anyways, no, what I had mentioned or asked earlier was if there was a something that you were excited at the beginning, like the first time you ever saw something that now like you're kind of nonplussed by.
Oh.
Yeah, but you can answer either one of those.
Okay. The thing that. So this is answering my own question of like,
Yes.
what do I not want to see? And this is weird. This is something I didn't really see before this year, but
Yeah.
I don't want to see it again. Is like resto mods that look like singers, but everything is off and they're
Yeah.
not singers. It's like, oh, that looks like you just assume it's a singer. They have the exact same headlights, the exact same fenders, the
Yeah.
exact same flares, the exact same front corners, and then
Yeah.
like a dog shit wheel choice.
Yeah, or
You know?
the interior is just like slightly off.
The interior is just like cheap. Like it's just
Yeah.
like like new leather in an old interior.
Yeah,
Um,
it's almost like a knockoff handbag of sorts.
Yeah,
where you just have
it
the stitching
is.
is off.
It is. It's like I would like that's. I don't know. Like a singer pulls it off because it's such a package and it's such a thing and it's its own
Yeah,
thing.
and
but
it
I would just rather
costs
have
what
a
it costs.
nice. I would just rather have a nice 911 that's
Yeah.
not this like singer imposter.
Yeah, that's a good point. You mentioned that at the show, and then I started like identifying, classifying because I saw them, but I didn't
There was
really.
at least two that looked like singers, but
Yeah.
just were like shit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't-
Shit
they're-
singers.
Yeah, relative to a singer, yes. I mean, they were like
I mean,
they
like
were
really bad wheel choices, you know,
Yeah,
where it's like a
it's-
big goofy fake Fuchs.
It's
or-
weird because it's kind of like an RSR tribute, but in between, like where it's like
but
been
I mean, RSR's
modernized.
tribute doesn't have like the clear headlights
Yeah,
and the clear
that's the thing.
reflectors and like the exact same like fender radius.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's there is something different. That the front valence of a singer is kind of different
yeah.
than like an RS.
I think an RSR
Or an
tribute
RSR.
is a little bit more personalized, and so it reflects like choices made by that owner versus say like where you're trying to imitate a singer by
Right.
like doing the same like a woven leather and like this and that, but those cars are like just taking like they're hand built from scratch, and I feel like these other cars are probably not. They start like midway point somewhere
yeah.
and just kind of
Well, they don't
add on.
start from the beginning.
Yeah, they don't start from the beginning, right? Yeah. So that's just like you can just look and you can tell the difference at least up close. Maybe far away, you would think, oh, it looks like a singer.
Yeah, if they did the wheels right.
Yeah,
But we didn't see that.
No, we did not see that. Yeah. So for me, other than that, I suppose as a thing that you have so many things, Kevin.
I know.
Yeah, but you have a way of classifying disdain and contentment.
I have so much of it.
Yes, you really
Yeah.
do. I don't think there's anything that I don't want to see necessarily. I mean, the more variety, the better. It kind of makes the show a little bit more worthwhile, even if it's something that you don't personally like.
hmm
I mean, I'm glad I got to see a Gunther, even though I don't really like them.
There was one at Universal.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay. I vaguely remember it being somewhere. Anyways, so that's fine. Yeah, so I refuse to answer your hateful question because there's anything that I don't want to see necessarily.
Okay.
I guess the question is there something that you do want to see?
Oh,
That's a
like
hard
something
one.
that like was not there that
Maybe.
hmm.
Yeah, that no, that's a tougher one just because that kind of world is your oyster as far as like ideas and thoughts go.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I would like to see more like Porsche factory thing. I don't know if you're gonna go
Oh.
nuts. If you're gonna go nuts, like what's the like oyster that they haven't
Yeah.
done? And it's like, oh, like I would love to see this like 959 prototype.
Okay.
Or this like,
I was about to say.
this is like the 993 turbo test mule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like something like weird that like maybe would be too grungy for the museum.
Yeah.
But would be so like the star of the show here.
Yeah.
Where it's like, this is a piece of history and we can tell this story and obviously what it led to.
Yeah.
And this is the missing link.
See,
and that kind of thing would be super cool.
That would be cool. Even if
There was a prototype, and this is like it's famously a museum car. I want to say it's called the 9. So it's called the 965, which I've seen the 964 turbo referred to this also as the 965. But the real 965 was like this hybrid between 959 and like the 964 turbo, where it was like they kind of prototype an all-wheel drive turbo in like 1989 that they didn't end up doing, but they built it as a prototype. And that would be a cool car to show, where it's like people in the museum, they might appreciate it, they might not, but like it would be at Luft, it would be like such a cool piece of history to show, and you build it around that. I think there wasn't nearly enough of it with like storylines this time.
Yeah, that's true.
Usually they do a really good job of showing. We criticized. I have no criticisms of the show itself, but I do think that like the planning and promotion and like the arrangement of the show was great, but like the web presence and just like, here's the information about this, like here's what you're looking at, here's why this is significant. I don't need to see that about everything, but like if something is significant, I would love to know a backstory. Like they had a thing online about that Chopard 550 Spider, which is cool, but if you're not looking at the website, you're not going to see that. Like I think that's a really crucial part of this that was just completely missing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because there were a lot of things that I wasn't quite sure what the significance. I mean, it was cool. It looked like it was important, especially on that kind of where that show part area was.
Right.
And maybe at some point, I mean, this is after the fact, I suppose, but they'll have something online.
Yeah.
I wonder if this show was not necessarily rushed, but they didn't have as much time to put it together because they weren't sure if they were going to be able to throw a show.
That seems like the easiest thing, like compared to arranging cars and shipping them across the country and all of that. Like
we're also
writing up a paragraph on the internet.
We're living in the age of the revival of the QR code, so.
You might be. I'm not.
Oh my God! You've never opened up an online menu?
No, I have. I'm not. I know. It's useful there. I'm just giving it a hard time. But yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. As far as the show,
I would agree with you. So on like that kind of point, do you think it'd require a lot more involvement from Porsche, like to have like historical pieces where it comes from? I would assume that this would have to come from like the manufacturer.
Yeah, but I don't think that's like a stretch. Like Porsche is clearly like putting money into this.
Yeah.
They want to put money, like they want to be a part of this as much as they can without it being like, we own this event and we're making it a, Macan test drive event.
Yeah.
Like they don't want, no one wants that.
Yeah.
But Porsche wants to be involved.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, it's a great partnership that Porsche Classic is involved, because Porsche Classic is, a good partner for this. Like it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And they had a display, and they had, and one of my favorite cars was that Talbot yellow 930 with the color matched wheels
yeah,
and
that was really good.
Yellow seats and interior. That was up there for me.
Yeah. I didn't pick up any of the merch that was in there. I've learned to not pick up like the freebies. We did get like some keychains. They were like custom, like hand lettered keychains. Basically,
it was cool that Haggerty did that in the the
general
whatever that
display,
parking lot was, like the main regular car parking. It was cool that there was like stuff there.
Yeah, I will say that I think in previous years, kind of, maybe it's hit or miss, but I liked at Universal that all the cars, the general parking was kind of mixed in.
It
a
was,
little bit.
yeah. The general parking has been mixed in every year, I think, since after San Pedro.
Yeah.
Like San Pedro was like clearly like, this is a lot of like overflow, and this felt like that. And I didn't love that, but it was,
Yeah, and I'm
What
sure
can
that
you
was a
do?
limitation of like
Space.
the space because they were actual streets that uh,
Right.
the cars were parked on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the the most annoying part of that show, not that I would have gone uh, anyways, but was the merch line. I don't know why it was just so annoying that people were waiting an hour and a half to buy
Yeah.
things they could have bought online.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I assumed that there wasn't anything that was you could only buy at the show, but
Right.
yeah, I did want to get the book, but that's probably the one thing you should definitely buy online
Yeah.
so you don't lug it back with
We'll
you.
get it and ship it.
Yeah. So, but I'm glad I went. Good show.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good. Like, so photographing this, I'll make it brief, but I was shooting this for a magazine and uh, it was, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I kind of had a challenge because I didn't go early, and the whole show seemed a little later in the day, so
Yeah.
the light was worse.
Yeah.
But I still managed to get some stuff. I think coming at it, like, um, this was more satisfying to shoot than Universal, maybe because
Yeah.
there's less people, or because like there was like more moments, or I don't know, like
Yeah.
it not being so dense with cars.
And we can talk about this for a second too, because you had a very different perspective about this, because we were just kind of casually ranking like shows,
Sure.
and Universal was of the higher ones for me, just because like it
The
was such a
spectacle
neat-
was incredible.
yeah,
Yeah,
the environment was so cool. But for you didn't like it as much.
I didn't like it as much. Like it was, I had, I was early. I was media for Universal, and the morning was like hazy and not my favorite light, and then
Yeah.
and kind of cloudy, and then it got extremely crowded.
Yeah.
And it seemed like everything was just dense, and it was hot, and it was.
Yeah.
Um,
And then, but
don't know.
with irony, like the one that I thought was maybe the least aesthetically pleasing in environment, you thought was one of the better ones for photography, which
Was-
the San Pedro one.
well, that was the whole thing wasn't amazing, but what I
It
did.
had rained.
It rained at golden hour morning, and
Yeah,
like was like
making
incredible.
things very
looking, and
textured.
extremely early before you got there.
Yeah.
What I didn't like about San Pedro was how much of it was indoor.
Yeah.
Like so much of it was like
Yeah.
museum cars, indoor warehouse. Like
Yeah.
it was like, oh, this is like never my favorite to shoot.
Yeah.
And it didn't like everyone's shots kind of looked the same from that. It
Yeah.
wasn't as fun.
It was. There were some parts of that was kind of that were kind of cool. Were kind of cool. Like the 959 underneath the giant light box, I thought was kind of cool.
Oh yeah, totally.
So as like an in-person experience, not a photography experience.
Yeah.
Or through the lens experience, that was kind of cool. Just
For
because
sure.
I don't think I'd ever seen one of those light boxes before. But so, and then for this one, yeah, you flip it around again. Like this one, I thought was aesthetically fine as far as just kind of like walking around and seeing things. We were talking about how like the Bottle Works district in Indianapolis reminded us so much of the Universal set.
It felt like a movie set.
It
It felt
felt like a
very
movie
like
because-
weirdly fake.
Because they were just like smokestacks and like
Water towers.
and these like kind of like 2-story, 3-story old brick buildings. So it felt like a Western set almost. But it was an actual real part of a city.
But I think maybe our favorite was the lumberyard.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I don't know about favorite, but that was
Yeah,
probably
I-
the coolest to shoot.
I think, yeah, from an all-around experience, that was like really cool to walk around. These
Yeah.
cars are on these like different pallets, so they're on these like different levels, and you're walking through like these aisles
And
where
some
all these
were in
cars.
total shade, some were in partial shade,
Yeah.
some were in the sun. Like it was really cool, and they were spaced out more
Yeah.
like this.
That was, I would have to say that's probably the most creative one that they have
Yeah.
had. So I'd have to say that's probably one of the better ones. But the Universal one was just like a spectacle, being like
Oh
on these
yeah,
movie
it was
sets.
exciting to
Yeah.
be there.
So, and we ran into some people,
Yeah.
which we normally do, less so this year, but we did run into our friends Jules and Tam from Houston,
Yeah.
and Jules had flown up, and Tam had driven her right-hand drive G50 Carrera up, and it caught fire at the Corvette Museum.
You hate to see it,
You hate
folks.
to see it, which is, of course, like a nightmare situation. Like,
Oh, yeah.
luckily the car is fine.
Yeah, it was like an electrical thing, and they put it out, and she didn't drive it, and she towed it.
Yeah, yeah. So we should check on them to see if they got back okay.
Yeah, they were planning on shipping it back,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we shall see.
yeah. But okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
one more Luft in the
One more
books.
Luft. Yeah, I was not enthused about going, and I'm really glad we went.
Me too. Okay, so I don't know what we're laughing at.
Oh, I do.
Uh, so I was recently in Portland just before Indianapolis, and these are like the first trips I'm taking like post-pandemic outside of the city as well. I went to New Orleans just prior to the storm. So this is trip number 2 in this last month, and topic like thematic with at least previous conversations of the show. So I went up to Portland to see some family I hadn't seen in a very long time, and I like looked forever for like a Turo, and I could not find anything. I assumed that like, people just weren't listing like interesting cars, and like it was a choice between like a Gilby and like a Macan or something, and I didn't know if I wanted to spend like
A Gilby is what Chris calls a Maserati giblets.
giblets, yeah, and I just didn't want to spend like $100+ a day on like a Macan, like 4-cylinder or a Gilby or anything like that, where it
Yeah.
was just like, this is just, I might as well just rent like a Corolla or something.
Hmm.
So, but right before the trip,
That is like Ghibli is definitely a car that would get repossessed.
Yes.
In your like when you had it.
oh yeah, yeah, much like the Cayman that you had in Los Angeles.
Like the Ghibli owner is the uh like aspiring nightclub owner.
Yes,
Like the person that is presenting as a nightclub owner but
Yes.
isn't.
very much so. That is the attendee
Yes.
who is aspiring one day to own a nightclub. So prior to this trip, just a few days before, I just hadn't made a selection on a car, and I needed to do something. And a Defender popped up, a 2021 Defender 110.
Why didn't you get that instead of the Volvo S90 you're about
Well,
to talk about
I
again?
would have. Kevin hates this because the one time I think we ended up literally fast forwarding through that at like
Yeah.
double speed because he
Yes.
hated hearing about my rental S90, which I
You
had opinions
rented
on.
it twice. All right, we're not doing this again. All right,
Um,
carry on. Talk about the Defender, please.
Oh my God. Okay, so I rented a 2021 Defender 110, and to start off with, it was supposed to be the inline six, Dynamic X, whatever. So this one was like really kitted out with everything but that inline six that it was like listed on the in the listing basically. And so here's the thing. This rental was very informative because I had test driven the inline six at the
Yeah.
dealership.
Right.
I did not have a chance to test drive the 4-cylinder.
Yes,
Which
and
is the one I was
listeners
hoping to get.
remember, the 7 listeners remember that you came close to purchasing a D90
Yeah.
Defender this year earlier, and it would have been the 4-cylinder because you thought I do not need
To spend
400. You're like I don't need 400 horsepower.
Yeah, it was
And-
$12,000 more.
Yeah, you're like that's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
You decided to instead buy a Mercedes wagon with 3 times the horsepower.
Yes.
And
And twice the length.
yes,
Yes.
and not get a D90 as your city car.
Yeah.
And now you can reflect on this.
I can cross this off the list as like, thank God I didn't buy one because, so it didn't help that this was like the 110 with the 4-cylinder. So I assume it is much heavier. And okay, so here's my thoughts. This car is probably stickered at like 70K or something with all the options.
Because you said it had every option except an engine.
It had all the options except the engine that like was probably key to the experience. And it just the 4-cylinder, you heard the turbo spool up all the time. It was just always trying hard, even when it wasn't, even when you were barely pressing the accelerator, because it was trying to move the heft of this car.
There's something about like because you had like it's not like you were demanding performance and speed all the time because this
Yeah.
is a slow car. Like you were never wanting for power in
yeah.
your slow Land Cruiser,
Yeah.
and or your BMW 3 Series wagon was not
It
fast,
wasn't fast.
but at least it's not working. Like there's something about it, like
Yeah.
this engine was just always struggling,
It
like
was always
always
struggling.
out of breath.
And that's the thing. Just if the car cost half as much or even less than half as much, it wouldn't have been like that bothersome. Like if this were like an Escape or something like that, that turbo line is just kind of part of the package. But like in a car that's meant to be like kind of a slightly elevated experience as far as like an off-roader goes, I just can't imagine like always hearing that turbo whine and nothing happening. Like it was really distracting. And even this is with like the windows rolled up and with like a little music playing, you could hear that turbo whine, and that was really disappointing. And I assume maybe it would have been a little bit less in the 90 because it's slightly lighter, but probably
I don't
not.
know if it's much lighter.
Yeah. So, and I'm like in the city, I don't putter, but I probably would have used it on the heavier side, like the accelerator, and I just would have heard that all the time everywhere, and it would have just bothered the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So, if anything at all, if I ever do return to the idea of a Defender 90 again, it would be with the inline six, when they are like depreciated to half or something.
Okay.
When
You heard
they
it here, folks. 6 months from now.
6 months from now, yeah. So when
No,
like
they're not going to appreciate because people.
yeah, no, they
They
haven't actually. I've looked
no.
at to see like used ones, and it's probably also the used car market right now, but they just have not depreciated like a dollar.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad I got it, and it was a great like it was at the very least a good like runabout to carry like 4 to 5 people.
Okay, well, let's hear more about the flaws. The windshield was broken.
The windshield was broken. Okay, so this was like a car with 14,000 miles on it. So a given, it's a rental. So the windshield had a 4-foot crack on it, and so does our friend Tom. He has also a giant crack on his Defender windshield. Let's see. The stereo would turn on and off by itself. Actually, mostly off. So when you were trying to listen for navigation cues, it would just be mute
Okay.
when you needed it to be. Let's see. It made a waterfall trickling sound on acceleration only when going uphill, which in Portland is all the time. So, and it sounded like a rain machine, a sound machine with playing rain.
Incredible.
Yeah. The proximity key only worked some of the time unless you literally stepped on the running board and put your like pocket where the key was right up to the door. And then I looked on the forum, and that apparently is so forum talk is always interesting because it's filled with two people, frustrated people and defenders of things. Defenders of defenders.
Yeah. Deniers.
Yeah. So, of course, like this is like clearly a flaw. Like it's a proximity key. This technology's been around since like '99, and there are people who are saying like, oh, well, this is clearly Land Rover thinking like, well, they're so smart because people are stealing codes.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's why you basically have to put your pocket up to the door to get it open.
My favorite forum excuses, because I haven't talked in a while, is I don't know if you know this, but one of my things
Yes.
is Scion TC hatch handles.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Audience
are familiar.
cheers.
Yes.
When you look at a forum,
Yes.
which I've done,
Yes.
because I'm depraved.
Yes.
And people will say like, "Oh, my hatch handle broke. Like, what the hell? This is bad. Like,
Yeah.
Toyota should do something about this." And people are like, "No, you're not lifting it right. Like, you're not doing it, or you're not doing it right. You're not supposed to lift from that." It's like, okay.
What you're
like,
supposed to do is lift from the license plate frame, the dealer frame,
Yes.
and once that bends into a handle, you use that to lift up.
North
which I've
side
seen-
Scion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I've seen on like many cars.
The
I-
plate. Bend.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand why it's so hard to open a trunk.
Hey, you've never owned a Scion.
That's true. I
Yeah.
have not. So,
Okay.
I
Please
don't
carry
understand.
on. Do you have any more flaws?
as far as this car goes, I don't think so. The rear door is really heavy. I'm really surprised there isn't like some sort of like dual action friction thing holding the door, but so like in Portland, there are a lot of like steep driveways, and so I'd constantly park on a steep driveway whenever we got to the place where we were staying. And when I open the rear door, it just like flies open, and it's so heavy.
Oh my God. Is it
Yeah.
a side door, like barn door
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, it's a swing door. So that seems, I mean, maybe other doors are like that. Maybe other swing doors are like that too. But like that seems like very unideal. And there were a few times where like it dragged me a little bit, because it was really
Which
steep
way
though.
does it open, and is it optimized for like right-hand drive?
It is optimized for right-hand drive. It's the
Because it
same.
opens like to this, like the
It opens
hinge
to
is
the
on the street side.
Yeah. So meaning that when you open it fully,
You have to go into the street to close
you have
it.
to go into the street to close it, like
Okay.
the GX 460, same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny. Actually had not even noticed that, but other than that, the car was fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
air suspension didn't fail. That was actually kind of fun because it lets you raise the car and keep it raised, unlike
Ooh.
the LX, which
Okay.
dropped it when you moved. The car was mostly fine. It's just like if I had paid like 70,000 plus for that thing, I would not be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Especially with like the decision of getting like the 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, especially because you were prepared to buy it like without driving the 4-cylinder.
yeah, there just were like no 4-cylinders around to try out. So
And now you know why.
and now I know why. Yeah, no one like I think if I wanted to try the same engine, it would have been like in a what is the small one again? Oh, I can't think of the name. The
Disco Sport? The
no,
Evoque.
no, the Evoque. Yeah, the Evoque. So,
Oh, yeah.
which would have been like very
1,000 pounds less.
misleading, yeah,
Yeah.
as far as the driving experience goes. And I've had like 2-liter turbos before, but again, like apparently heft like makes up for something.
Yeah. Well, get
Alright.
ready because that's going to be every engine
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah. I mean, this is it. This is our future.
This
Like
is all we have.
2-liter turbos everywhere you go. So,
Yeah.
I is the I what was the news on AM? I guess they do have 2-liter turbo AMGs. We've toroed.
I think they only have 2-liter turbo AMGs. Do they
they-
offer other engines?
No, we'll put a pin on that correct fact that I don't
Okay.
believe they do anymore.
I don't think they
So,
do.
No,
They can't sell V8s here.
no.
So,
So that's it. Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's a moratorium on V8 sales.
yeah.
So
So they do have the 6-cylinder, so you're limited to only the 73.
yes, you have the 73.
The 73 is the 6.
Yeah, there's no 63 anymore. It's everything
no.
but
Well, the
the
63 is the 4-cylinder.
Yeah.
73 is the 6. They gotta
Yeah,
adjust
so
it.
you've got the 13, the 23,
Mm-hmm.
the 33, 43, 53.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
No,
And
they
the
would never have a
73.
number as small as 13 or 23.
Yeah. No,
That's too close to the actual displacement. Only bigger numbers. We increase the numbers every time, reduce the engine size.
I want an E13 AMG. That
I
would
know I
be,
sound like a curmudgeon, but I hate it.
I know. This is
Like
we can
complaining about
lament
numbers
this.
not matching displacement, it's like, yeah, it's old, it's whatever, it's fine. But it's like when the numbers suck and the displacements are wrong, like that's annoying. Like
yeah.
BMW
that-
340 is
we
the
can-
worst example.
This is I feel like this cannot be criticized, but the lamenting of like the fact that AMG is not like special anymore because it's like they just make like so many variants that aren't the actual like AMG thing unless
But
you
they
buy
all
an
have the
AMG.
angry face,
Yeah, they have
including
all
the
the
AMG.
angry face. So yeah, that's fine. Are they
Yeah.
still all hand built by a
know.
robot?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Carol Shelby's auto pen.
Yeah,
signs them.
yeah, that's it. Which at some point in time, I would imagine that the robot that makes the non-AMG AMG engines, it will just be signed by like, I don't know, what is a robot's name?
Wally.
Wally.
Yeah.
Oh, I would actually love a car by Wally.
Yeah.
That
would
would
be pretty
kinda
good.
cute. Yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's all I got. It's been a long several weeks of traveling.
Yeah. Sounds
So,
like it.
I know.
Real pain
and-
in the neck.
Yeah, we'll mention one last thing here. Speaking of Portland and cars, I saw a friend of the pod, Daniel Sloan, while I was in Portland. And I've seen him the last couple of times I was up there because he, of course, lives up there. And and every time I come, he has something different and or new, which is the same thing, I guess. And So this time, like half of the garage was new, basically. So I saw the
New to you.
new to me, yeah. I saw the Phoenix Yellow E46 M3 Coupe. I saw the LR3 already. I saw his new i3
Oh yeah.
and in orange. I forget what the actual color is.
I
And
think it's like solar orange.
solar orange. Okay. And I learned so many things too about the i3.
Oh, I bet you did.
Yeah, because Daniel had all the details.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought like there was like one with like one option. And I saw the Fiat 500.
Yeah.
I forget what year it is, but it's the classic, the 60s, I believe, right? Do you
I
recall?
think so. I think
Okay.
it's 69 or 70 or something. I think
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
69.
It is the small one, the
Yeah.
even smaller one. And so he picked me up. I was visiting an aunt, and he like swung around, and I'm standing outside with like my family. They're waiting for me to be picked up because Daniel texted that he was around the corner, and I thought he was gonna pick me up in the LR3 or the i3,
Mm-hmm.
and then like 6'2" Daniel like pops up. Actually, I couldn't even see. I didn't even notice. I think he had already parked, and but the car is just so like small, and we'd walked outside, and I didn't
It's not
even
very
notice.
quiet.
It's not very quiet, yeah. So I think he had already parked at that point, and like I was like, oh, I'm waiting for my friend. I think he's gonna be here in a big SUV, and then we just like look to the side, and there is 6'2" Daniel standing like next to this 3 foot tall Fiat 500, and it is like such a charming little car.
Mm-hmm.
So we ride around for just a little bit. We ended up switching out the cars just because he didn't want to drive at night, which is understandable since again we are the crumple zones
Yeah.
in that car, and it I would assume has even worse illumination as from the headlights than our cars do. But there's just something about that car. Like he's showing me kind of almost the flaws of the transmission. Like it has no synchros. It's a little difficult to find the gears, and it has like a horsepower. So we're going up these Portland hills, and the car is struggling a little bit, but all of it is extremely charming. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just, it is so buzzy, and it made me want to look for one. I don't think I actually want to own one, like a classic Italian car, but it like made me curious about them. And you've ridden it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. You were there when it arrived.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. I would happen to be looking out the window, and a trailer drives down the street with this Fiat 500, and it stops like two houses down from him.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, Daniel!" Like, it was pulled by like a cool pickup that was like a '90s Chevy with like black and gold graphics or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Daniel, you should check this out." And I look out, and he's like, "Oh, it's here." And I was like, "What?" And we go outside, and it's Ram,
Yes.
our former chief of staff for President Obama,
Yes.
Rahm Emanuel,
Yes.
was unloading this Fiat 500, and we drove it around the block,
Yeah.
and it was weird, and we both fit in it, and we had lots of laughs.
Yeah. And the clarification on that reference, by the way, for those unfamiliar, Daniel takes his car to ROM Innovations, I
Yeah,
believe.
he was the mayor of Chicago, and
Yeah.
he may be disgraced.
So if you're wondering where he
may
went,
be disgraced,
if you're wondering where
but
he
he's
went,
he knows how to
he
wrench.
started up a European specialty mechanic shop in Portland, Oregon. So
Yeah.
yeah, for the longest time, I thought the reference that you kept saying his name is Rom. I thought he looked like Rahm Emanuel, so I'm
Oh, no.
disappointed that he doesn't actually look like Rahm Emanuel.
No.
So, but yeah, no, it was good to see Daniel again. I think I haven't seen him in like at least over a little over a year. So since New Year's, when his mom used to live in Houston, and he would come
Oh,
down on
yeah.
occasion. So it definitely had been like probably almost 2 years at that point. So,
Mhm.
but anyways, yeah, I was glad to see like all of the cars that had been topics of conversation in our group chat for the last 2 years or so. And yeah, that is about it. But it was good to see Daniel.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
So this is like the second charming Italian car that I have seen in the last year that made me want to briefly look for something just out of curiosity. And if I was drunk enough, perhaps, I would maybe accidentally convince myself to buy one of these things. But Tom's Fulvia
Mm-hmm.
was also like super charming. It was the 1.3 liter 4-cylinder. Didn't go fast, but made like cool noises and was teeny tiny as well. And Tom's car went for I think a pretty good price on Bring a Trailer, but
Yeah.
they were cheap. I don't think they are cheap anymore, but it made me it made me fall in love with like the idea of like a small cheap Italian car. But maybe those are words that do not go together anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
In this market.
Well, you are on the record saying that the Panda is not a $13,000 driving experience.
Okay. All right. I was misquoted.
Were you?
Once again, I was
You
misquoted.
said that.
I was misquoted.
I
I did
believe
not
you said
actually
that.
say that.
You.
I did not say that.
I summarized your intent.
You said, "Can I misquote you?" And I said, "No," and then you did. So now,
That's what you get.
yeah, there's like a pull quote of me on the drive, like
That's what you get
literally.
for talking to the fake news media. Like yourself.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Anyways,
I would like to tell the listeners about my interview series, which I will promise to put much more effort into than this podcast. It's going to be on my YouTube channel
amazing.
called Viewfinders, and I'm going to get my favorite photographers and interview them.
Yeah.
And you won't have any of this nonsense from Chris.
No, I'm not
So-
involved.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So he's actually gonna put effort into this one.
Yeah. So it's going to be live on YouTube every week from this week onward for hopefully a couple months.
Yeah. And this is the one where he finally relents and will use big bold fonts with exclamation points and arms outstretched in surprise face.
The font is called Impact, Chris.
Yes, it is impact.
Yes.
Indeed. And
Because it has an impact.
it has an impact indeed. Anyways, I think that might be a podcast.
I suppose.
All right. Well, till the next time, thanks for listening. Do follow us on I forgot the extra. Do follow us on Instagram at new496.
Yes.
All the same on Twitter, same content.
Yes.
And email us if you must. We won't tell it to you because we don't want you to. So,
Yep. That's
all
right.
right. Well, goodbye.
Bye.